Have you ever poured your soul into fitting and giving your alone to feel like you're fading away, like you're screaming, and no one cares? That's where I was. Trapped for 8 years. I'm Lena, 35, a graphic designer who thought marrying Jack Harper would make me part of his world. But his family, they saw me as nothing, a stranger in their perfect lives. At their 4th of July barbecue, with laughter and flags all around. My sister-in-law, Kristen, smirked and said, "Lena, if you vanish tomorrow, you're just a ghost to us." The table laughed harsh, cold. Even Jack, my husband, joined in. That night, as fireworks exploded, I vowed to disappear, but not their way. What happened next? It's a twist that'll shake you. Stick around, you won't see it coming. I met Jack in my final year at Ohio State, working late shifts at a campus coffee shop to pay for my graphic design degree. I was all hustle scholarships, long nights. A girl from Cleveland who grew up in a small apartment with my single mom and sister, Mia. Our home was cozy but cramped, with creaky floors and the smell of mom's meatloaf. Christmas meant homemade cookies and gifts from thrift stores. Wrapped in love, Jack was the opposite, charming, confident, a business major with a trust fund and a smile that could light up a room. One quiet night, he noticed my worn copy of The Great Gatsby behind the counter. We started talking books, dreams, what we wanted from life. His easy laughter and curious questions drew me in. 3 months later, we were head over heels. By graduation, he proposed with a ring that sparkled like a promise of forever. I said yes, believing I was joining not just him, but a family. The Harpers were a different world, one I wasn't ready for. Their mansion felt like stepping into a magazine. Marble floors, chandeliers, furniture so pristine I hesitated to sit. My childhood home was alive with noise. Maya and I sharing a bunk bed, giggling late into the night. The Harpers' house was silent, polished, cold. Henry, Jack's father, had built Harper Advertising into a Midwest giant, a man whose success defined him. Margaret, his mother, managed their social life with icy precision, always in pearls, always flawless. Kristen, Jack's sister, was 28, a sharp-tongued executive at Henry's firm, her eyes always scanning for weakness. Tom, the youngest, was their rebel, which meant he partied hard but still landed a soft job at a family friend's investment firm. They were everything my family wasn't: wealthy, connected, untouchable. I wanted to belong, to be part of their world, not just for me, but for Jack, for the love that burned so bright, it felt like it could conquer anything. I tried everything to win them over. I studied their etiquette, learning which fork to use at their fancy dinners. I sent thoughtful gifts. A custom-designed cookbook for Margaret, with family recipes I illustrated by hand. Personalized cards for birthdays. I volunteered at Margaret's charity events, standing for hours in heels to help her galas run smoothly. I swapped my bold, colorful wardrobe for neutral dresses to match their sleek style, even toned down my graphic designs to fit their minimalist taste. I smiled through their talk of summer homes and elite schools. Swallowing my working-class pride, I believed that if I worked hard enough, loved Jack deeply enough, they'd see me, they'd accept me someday. But my efforts were met with nothing but coldness and contempt. Margaret called my designs quaint, like I was selling doodles at a craft fair, not running a freelance business with real clients. Henry ignored me at dinners, explaining basic marketing concepts as if I never pitched a campaign. Kristen was the worst. Their sugary smile hid a venomous edge. She'd mock my affordable scar for the way I said caramel with my Ohio accent. "Nice try, Lena," she said once, eyeing the cookbook I'd spent weeks designing for Margaret. "But maybe stick to simpler gifts." The cookbook sat untouched on a shelf. Margaret never mentioned it. Each slight was a pinprick. But together, They bled me dry. I'd come home from their events, my heart heavy, and pour it out to Jack. They don't even try to know me, I'd say, my voice breaking. They look right through me. He'd wrap an arm around me, his eyes soft but dismissive. They're just jealous. Lena, he'd say, it's not about you. They're cold people, don't take it personally. His words stung worse than their rejection. He saw my pain but brushed it aside. Like I was overreacting. Like my feelings were a flaw. It made me feel invisible even to him. The man I loved. But I trusted him. I loved him so much that I believed his promises, they'll come around. Just give it time. That hope kept me going. Kept me trying. Even as I felt myself fading under their judgment, the blows kept coming. Each one heavier. 3 years ago, Jack's career skyrocketed, requiring him to travel constantly, without a real discussion. It was just assumed I'd scale back my design work to manage the home. I didn't argue, I wanted to support him, to be the partner he needed. But my client list dwindled, and my world shrank to his brief visits and his family's orbit. I felt like a guest in my own life, my dreams slipping away to keep his shining. Jack didn't seem to notice. Or if he didn't say, "You're so good at keeping things together," he'd say, kissing my forehead before another trip. I smiled. But inside, I was unraveling. Then, last spring, I miscarried at 10 weeks. The physical pain was sharp, but the loneliness was a deeper wound. Jack was in Denver for a conference. He called, offering to fly back. But when I said I could manage, his relief was clear even through the phone. "Take care of yourself," he said. And that was it. Margaret sent a card with 3 cold words. "Better luck next time. Kristen, over brunch." Suggested my chaotic freelance life was to blame, her tone implying I'd brought it on myself. Their words were like ice, freezing me out when I needed warmth. Only Mia flew in from Portland, bringing her homemade chili and sitting with me through tear-soaked nights. She held me as I cried, her presence a stark contrast to the Harper's distance. "You're enough." "Lena," she whispered, "you always were." I buried the pain, clinging to Jack's voice in my head. "They're just jealous. They'll come around." I told myself that my love for him, my patience, would bridge the gap. If I kept trying, kept giving my heart, they'd see me. They had to. But deep down, a quiet voice whispered, "What if they never do? What if I'm losing myself for nothing?" I pushed it away, holding on to hope, believing that love would be enough. That hope carried me to the 4th of July barbecue, my heart fragile but still beating with the dream of belonging. I didn't know it yet, but that day would change everything, the day I'd stop begging for their eyes and start seeing myself. By the time the 4th of July barbecue arrived, I was barely holding on. My designs had lost their spark. My friendships had faded, and my marriage felt like a script I was tired of reading. 8 years of pouring my heart into Jack's family, trying to win their acceptance, believing my love for him would make them see me had worn me down. I was a shadow of the bold, creative woman I'd been when I met Jack, but a flicker of hope remained. Fragile but stubborn, maybe today. They'll see me. Maybe this is the day they finally let me in. The Harper barbecue was a spectacle, a dazzling display of their wealth and status. Their sprawling estate was decked out in show red, white, and blue banners fluttering, fairy lights twinkling against a lawn so perfect it could have been a movie set. A string quartet played patriotic tunes, blending with the chatter of neighbors, CEOs, and local politicians. Caterers wove through the crowd with trays of gourmet sliders, ceviche, and cocktails garnished with star-shaped fruit. The air smelled of charcoal and privilege, a world I'd spent years trying to belong to. I'd spent all morning baking my grandma's apple pie, kneading the dough with care, pouring my heart into every slice. It was my offering, my plea for a place at their table. Jack was distracted, fielding calls about his upcoming Chicago trip. "Don't be late," he said as we drove over, my pie balanced on my lap, my sundress, carefully chosen to match Margaret's casual chic dress code, felt like a costume I didn't quite fit. When we arrived, the estate buzzed with energy. Henry stood by his shiny new grill, a high-tech beast he showed off to admiring guests like it was a trophy. Margaret glided through the crowd, her laughter sharp and practiced, her pearls catching the sunlight. Kristen spotted us at the garden gate, air-kissed Jack, and gave me a quick, appraising glance. "Lena, that dress is festive," she said, her smile thin as a blade. Before I could respond, she looped her arm through Jack's and pulled him away to meet a business contact, leaving me standing alone, clutching my pie like a lifeline. I made my way to the kitchen, where Margaret was directing the catering staff with the precision of a conductor. "Oh, Lena, you didn't need to bring anything," she said, barely glancing at my pie. Her voice was polite but cold, like she was humoring a child. "The caterers have dessert covered. Just stick it in the pantry." I set my pie on a crowded shelf, next to other lesser dishes from guests not deemed worthy of display. As I turned to leave, I heard Margaret instruct a server to clear space for Kristen's artisan key lime tart, to be showcased at the center of the dessert table. The dismissal stung, a reminder that my efforts, hours of baking, years of trying were invisible to them. The next few hours were a slow torture of rejection. I tried to join conversations, hoping to connect. I complimented a guest's art collection, but she was whisked away by Margaret to meet someone important. I offered to help set up the buffet line, but a caterer waved me off. "We've got a system." I attempted to join a group chatting about summer blockbusters, but my comments were drowned out by louder voices. Emily, Tom's wife, who'd been married only 2 years, was treated like a queen. Margaret introduced her as our brilliant cardiologist, her voice warm with pride. Henry asked Emily about her work, hanging on her answers. Meanwhile, the hand-designed flyer AD spent weeks creating for Margaret's charity gala sat forgotten in a drawer, never acknowledged. The contrast was a slap. Emily was family. I was nothing. I kept trying, driven by the hope that had sustained me for years. If I show them I'm worthy, they'll accept me. I smiled through their slights, laughed at their inside jokes, even when they stung. I moved through the barbecue like a ghost, present but unseen, my heart aching with every ignored gesture. Jack was nowhere to be found, caught up in networking with Henry's cronies, leaving me to navigate the Harper's world alone. When lunch was announced, Jack reappeared, his smile distracted. "Having fun?" he asked, not waiting for an answer before steering me to the buffet. We filled our plates and joined the main table on the patio, a long, elegant setup under a canopy of lights. I ended up seated between Henry's hard-of-hearing uncle, who nodded absently, and an empty chair reserved for Kristen. Jack sat across from me, already deep in conversation with Henry about ad markets in Japan. Kristen arrived last, her plate a meticulous arrangement of food, and launched into a story about spotting a TikTok star at her gym. The table leaned in, captivated, even the uncle shifting to hear her better. During a brief lull, I saw my chance. I'd been working on a branding project for a local brewery, a small win that felt like a spark of my old self. "I just finished a design for a brewery downtown," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. "They're launching next week," and Kristen cut me off, her smirk sharp as a knife. "Lena, if you vanish tomorrow, you're just a shadow to us. This table doesn't need your noise." The table erupted in laughter loud, cruel, a wave that crashed over me. Margaret hid a smirk behind her napkin, her eyes glinting. Henry let out a deep, booming laugh, and Jack, the man I'd loved, the man I'd sacrificed my dreams for, chuckled, a brief sound that sliced through my heart like glass. The laughter surrounded me, cold and suffocating, making me feel both painfully visible and utterly invisible. My face burned. My hands turned to ice. 8 years of trying learning their ways. Giving my heart. Dimming my light for their approval crashed down around me. My love for Jack. My hope that his family would embrace me. Shattered into pieces. I wasn't just unseen. I was nothing to them. A ghost at their table. I didn't cry. I didn't run. I locked eyes with Kristen. My voice cold and clear. Challenge accepted. I raised my soda can in a defiant toast. My hand steady despite the storm inside me. The table fell silent for a split second. Kristen's smirk faltered, her eyes narrowing. Jack glanced at me. His brow furrowed, sensing something had shifted but not understanding what. Margaret quickly chirped, "Who's ready for Henry's famous ribs?" And the moment passed. The conversation moving on as if I'd never spoken. But inside me, a fire had ignited. I was done begging for their scraps, done shrinking to fit their world. For the rest of the barbecue, I stopped trying. I watched them, their effortless privilege, their easy laughter, the way Jack blended in without a second thought. I saw how they moved through their world of wealth, never questioning their place. While I'd spent years pleading for a seat at their table, I cataloged every slight, every moment he'd been ignored, every time my voice was drowned out, and for the first time, I listened to the quiet voice I'd silenced for years. "You deserve better than this. You always have." Driving home, Jack was glued to his phone, muttering about his Chicago trip. "You're quiet," he finally said, glancing at me in the driveway. "Kristen's joke," I said, my voice calm but firm. "Did you think it was funny?" he sighed, unbuckling his seatbelt. "They're just jealous." "Lena, it's not about you. Don't make it a thing." His dismissal was the final nail. That night, as he slept soundly beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The woman had been bold, creative, alive, had been buried under their judgment, under my hope that Jack's love would make me enough. My love had blinded me, but no more. By dawn, I'd made my choice. I was leaving. The barbecue betrayal broke something in me, but it also lit a spark. Kristen's words, "You're just a shadow to us," and Jack's careless chuckle echoed in my mind. A cruel wake-up call after 8 years of chasing their approval. I poured my heart into the Harpers, driven by my love for Jack, believing that if I tried hard enough, they'd see me. His dismissals, "They're just jealous." "Lena, it's not about you," had kept me tethered to that hope, even as I lost myself. But that night, lying awake as Jack slept, I saw the truth my love had blinded me, chaining me to a family that would never let me in. By dawn, my decision was made. I wasn't just leaving Jack, I was leaving the shadow I'd become. I was ready to find myself again. I called Sarah, my college roommate, the one friend who'd stayed loyal even as I'd drifted into the Harper's orbit. "I'm leaving, Jack," I said, my voice steady despite the weight in my chest. "Can you help me pack 2 hours later?" She was at my door, arms loaded with coffee and moving boxes, her eyes blazing with support. "Let's do this," she said. And we got to work. We sorted through my life with purpose, packing only what mattered: clothes, my graphic design gear, Mom's worn recipe book, a faded photo of me and Mia as kids, grinning in Cleveland snow. I left behind anything tied to Jack's world, the designer dresses Margaret approved, the crystal vase from Kristen's wedding gift, the life I'd tried to fit into. Sarah wrapped my favorite Muga-chipped thing from a college art fair and said, "My garage is yours for anything that doesn't fit." Her quiet strength held me together. I sat at the kitchen counter, methodically handling the logistics. I transferred exactly half our joint savings to my personal account, not a penny more, not a penny less. I paid my share of the monthly bills, canceled subscriptions, and updated my address to a P.O. box. I wrote Jack a letter. Keeping it simple and clear, I needed space to rethink our marriage. I'd taken only what was mine, and I asked for no contact for now. I didn't mention my destination. My hand trembled as I removed my wedding ring, placing it on the letter. Next to it, I left a small note with Kristen's words, written in sharp black ink. "You're just a shadow to us." It wasn't petty, it was a reminder, to myself, of why I was leaving. I took one last look at our wedding photo on the hall table. Wed looked so happy then, so full of possibility, Jack's smile warm. My eyes bright with hope. That woman felt like a stranger now. "Goodbye," I whispered, setting the frame down and walking out the door without looking back. Driving away from our suburban neighborhood was terrifying, like stepping off a cliff, but with every mile toward Portland, where Mia lived. The tightness in my chest eased. The highway stretched before me, a path to something new. For the first time in years, I could breathe. Portland welcomed me with gray skies and steady rain, washing away the weight of the Harper's world. Mia had found me a studio apartment in her neighborhood, a tiny space with cracked walls, creaky hardwood floors, and a single window framing misty hills. Compared to the Harper mansion's sterile grandeur, it was humble, to me. It was freedom. "It's not much," Mia said, helping me carry boxes up the narrow stairs. "It's perfect," I replied, running my hand over the worn kitchen counter. "It's mine." The simplicity of the space-bare walls. A second-hand couch felt like a blank canvas for a new life. The first week was a blur of practical steps, each one a brick in the foundation I was building. I opened a new bank account at a local credit union, set up mail forwarding through Sarah to keep my trail hidden, and got a new phone with a Portland area code. I updated my freelance design profiles, scrubbing any work tied to Jack's network, focusing on the bold, vibrant designs I'd once loved. Jack's texts started almost immediately, confusion at first. "Lena, where are you?" Then anger. "This is ridiculous." Then pleading. "I love you. Come home. Please." Each message tugged at my heart, a reminder of the love that had once defined me. Kristen's Instagram added salt to the wound, with a post captioned, "Real family stays. Outsiders go." The comments were filled with heart emojis from Harper allies, a digital echo of their laughter. I stayed silent, not out of cruelty, but to protect the fragile new start I was carving out. Responding would have pulled me back into their orbit, and I wasn't going there again. Mia, sensing my resolve wavering, dragged me to a women's support group at a local community center. I was hesitant, sharing my pain with strangers felt raw, but it was there I met Nora, a 50-something coffee shop owner with a gravelly voice and eyes that saw right through me. "Show me your real work," she said one evening. Waving away the polished portfolio I'd brought to a group meeting, I hesitated, then opened my laptop to a folder of old sketches, bold, colorful, a little wild, designs he'd buried to fit the Harper's sleek aesthetic. "You've been hiding," Nora said, her gaze sharp but warm. "This is you. Do one personal piece every week. Bring it to me. I don't care if it's awful, just don't stop." Her words were a lifeline, pulling me back to the artist I'd been before I'd tried to be a Harper. Nora hired me to paint a mural for her coffee shop, a vibrant love letter to Portland's quirky soul food trucks under rainy skies. Neon signs glowing, bikes weaving through streets. I poured myself into it, every brushstroke a reclaiming of my voice. When it was finished, customers snapped selfies in front of it, asking who the artist was. "That's Lena," Nora would say, pointing to me behind the counter, sketching in a notebook, for the first time in years. I felt seen, not as Jack's wife or the Harper's outcast, but as me. The mural opened doors. I started picking up freelance gigs, book covers, logos, social media graphics. The work wasn't glamorous, but it paid the rent and reminded me I was good at something. Then I landed a contract with Greenleaf, a local organic food brand. Seeing my designs on Whole Foods shelves was surreal, a quiet victory, a sign I was rebuilding. Therapy with Dr. Ellis, a counselor Mia recommended, became my anchor. In our third session, she asked, "You believed love would change the Harpers. What changed you?" The question cracked me open. I poured out the years of slights, the ignored cookbook, Kristen's mocking smiles, Margaret's cold dismissals. I told her about Jack's constant refrain, "They're just jealous." Lena, "It's not about you." How it made me feel like my pain was my fault, like I was too sensitive. "You gave them your heart for Jack," Dr. Ellis said. "What happens when you give it to yourself?" In my journal, I wrote, "I tried to be enough for them, for him. Now I'm learning to be enough for me." The words felt like a promise. I started changing in small, deliberate ways. I cut my hair into a sharp bob, dyed it with auburn streaks, and traded the Harpers' approved cardigans for leather jackets and bright sneakers. I dressed like the woman I'd forgotten, bold, unapologetic, alive. Each choice was a step toward reclaiming myself, a rejection of the shadow I'd been. But the doubts came, fierce and relentless, especially in the quiet of night. Jack's texts turned to bargaining. "We can fix this. Lena, I miss you so much." Each one stirred the love I'd once felt, the hope that had kept me fighting for his family's approval. Kristen's Instagram jabs kept coming. Each post a reminder of their rejection. "Family is forever." I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, questions gnawing at me. What if they're right? What if I'm nothing without them? What if I'm alone forever? The fear was heavy, a weight that threatened to pull me back. But then I'd see my mural, its colors glowing under the coffee shop lights, or get a text from Mia, "You're killing it, sis." Nora's voice echoed in my head. "Don't stop." I'd touch the sketchbook on my nightstand, filled with new designs, and feel the spark of who I was becoming. I kept going. By month 6, Greenleaf's campaign was a hit, and my calendar filled with new clients, small businesses, local authors, even a craft brewery. I wasn't just surviving. I was building something real, something mine. The hope that had chained me to the Harpers, the belief that Jack's love would make them accept me, faded like a bad dream. In its place grew a new truth. Sharp and clear, I didn't need their eyes to matter. My own were enough. I was no longer the woman who'd begged for a seat at their table. I was Lena, and I was finding my light. 1 year after the 4th of July barbecue that shattered my world, I stood on the edge of something new. Portland had become my haven, a place where I'd rebuilt myself piece by piece, my mural at Nora's coffee shop, my designs on Whole Foods shelves, the bold woman I'd rediscovered in leather jackets and auburn-streaked hair, the hope that had once chained me to the Harpers, believing my love for Jack would win their acceptance, had faded. I'd learned to see myself, and that was enough. Then an email from Brightwave, a top-tier ad agency in Los Angeles. Changed everything. They wanted me to design a campaign for Freshfields, a new organic food brand. The budget was huge, the stakes even higher. I said yes, not knowing Freshfields was tied to Harper Advertising, the empire Henry had built, when Brightwave invited me to present the campaign at a marketing gala in Los Angeles. I saw it as my chance not to prove myself to the Harpers, but to claim the spotlight I'd earned. The gala was held in a historic theater downtown, its grand lobby aglow with chandeliers and ambition. I arrived in a tailored emerald jumpsuit, my bob sleek and confident, feeling like I belonged in a way I never had at the Harpers table. The room buzzed with industry power players, execs in sharp suits, designers with bold portfolios, journalists scribbling notes. I networked with ease, swapping business cards, my Greenleaf work earning praise. Your designs have sold out, one editor said, handing me her card. I smiled, my confidence soaring, a far cry from the woman who'd begged for a nod from Margaret. Then the air shifted, a prickle on my skin. The Harpers had arrived. Henry's booming laugh cut through the crowd. Unmistakable. I scanned the room, Margaret in her signature pearls, her smile polished as ever, Kristen in a black power suit, her eyes scanning like a hawk. Jack, standing slightly apart, looking thinner, his face a mix of shock and something softer when our eyes met. His gaze held mine across the lobby, lips parting as if to speak. My heart skipped, a ghost of old love stirring, but I held his stare calm. Steady, then turned back to my conversation. Thanking the editor for her compliment, I wasn't their shadow anymore. I was Lena, and I was here on my terms. Henry approached first, his tone neutral, but tinged with surprise. Lena, didn't expect you here, he said, adjusting his cufflinks. I nodded. All business. In presenting Freshfield's rebrand. Henry, it's testing well with focus groups. He blinked, reassessing me, his usual air of superiority faltering. Your work's sharper now, he said, almost grudgingly. I smiled. Small but firm. It's me. Henry always was. He shifted, uncomfortable, and excused himself. No doubt to report back to Margaret. The exchange was brief, but it felt like a victory, a crack in their armor. Kristen was next, cornering me near the theater entrance before my presentation. Her voice was sharp, accusing. No one said you were on our project, she snapped, as if I'd snuck in uninvited. I met her gaze, unflinching. I'm with Brightwave. Kristen, your family's just the client. My designs don't need your name to shine. My creative director, Alex. Overheard and chimed in, his tone warm. Lena's been a game changer on this. You're lucky to have her. Kristen's smile tightened, her eyes flashing with something anger. Fear, but she backed off, muttering about checking the schedule. Her retreat felt like a small triumph. But I sensed she wasn't done. The presentation was my moment to soar. I took the stage, the spotlight warm, fueling my resolve. The theater's ornate ceiling loomed above, the audience a sea of expectant faces. I walked them through Freshfield's rebrand clean lines. Earthy tones, a sustainable vibe that felt like an extension of my heart. I spoke with passion. Weaving in data. Alex and I had crunched 85% brand recognition, 30% sales growth projected. My slides were bold, my voice steady, every word a declaration of who I was. The room erupted in applause, loud and spontaneous, a wave of validation that washed over me. From the stage, I saw the Harpers in the front row, Margaret's face a stone mask, Henry nodding at the numbers, Kristen whispering to her neighbor, Jack watching with an intensity that mixed pride and pain. I stood tall, unbreakable, no longer their ghost. Afterward, I was swarmed with questions and compliments. Execs pressed business cards into my hands. A journalist asked for an interview. This recognition, earned by my work, not a Harper's nod, was sweeter than any approval ID chased. As the crowd thinned, Jack approached, hands in his pockets, his voice low. You were incredible. Lena, he said, eyes searching mine. I need to tell you something. Freshfields was my project, a way to lift up independent designers. I saw your Greenleaf work online and told Brightwave to hire you. Anonymously, I didn't want to pull you back. I just wanted you to have this stage. My heart stopped. Shock, anger, and a flicker of gratitude collided. Jack, the man who'd laughed at that barbecue, who'd dismissed my pain, had been watching me, loving me from afar, giving me this chance without claiming credit. His hidden love had opened this door. A gesture that stirred the embers of what Wed had. Before I could respond, Alex pulled me aside, his voice urgent. There's more. he said. Kristen knew Jack recommended you. She tried to block you, pushed us to hire a Harper insider instead, said you'd embarrass the family. We chose you because your work was undeniable. The revelation hit like a thunderbolt. Kristen hadn't just mocked me at the barbecue, she'd tried to erase me again. Out of fear my success would expose her own insecurities. Her cruelty was desperation. A need to keep me small so she could feel big. I found her later, near the bar, her confidence crumbling. Why, I asked. My voice calm but piercing. Why try to push me out? She looked away, then back, tears brimming. I was jealous. Lena, she admitted, her voice breaking. You're fearless, and I'm not. I didn't want you to outshine me. I was wrong. Her vulnerability stunned me. Kristen, the untouchable Harper Queen, was human flawed, afraid, fragile. I saw her pain, but I didn't soften. I didn't fight to dim you. Kristen, I said, my voice steady. I fought to shine. I turned to Jack, who'd lingered nearby, his face heavy with regret. Your love gave me this moment, I told him, my voice softer but firm. But I've found my own light now. That's enough. I walked away, my steps sure, my heart full. I wasn't their outcast, not Jack's wife, not Kristen's rival. I was Lena whole, free, unstoppable. The gala wasn't just a professional win. It was a reckoning. The Harpers had seen Minot, the shadow they'd dismissed. But the woman had become. Jack's secret support showed a love I hadn't expected, a bittersweet gift I could honor without returning to him. Kristen's sabotage, born of her own fear, revealed her not as a villain, but as someone trapped in her own shadows. I didn't need their approval anymore. I'd built a world where my light burned bright, and no one could dim it. As I left the theater, the Los Angeles skyline glittering beyond, I felt a surge of power not over them, but over my own story. The stage was mine, and I was ready to write the next chapter. The Los Angeles Gala was a turning point, a moment where I stood in my power, no longer the shadow the Harpers had dismissed. My Freshfields campaign had dazzled the crowd, earning applause that echoed louder than any approval I'd chased from Jack's family. Jack's secret support recommending me to Brightwave and Kristen's attempt to sabotage me revealed their truths, his regret. Her fear, I'd walked away from them, not with anger, but with clarity. I didn't need their eyes to shine. My own light was enough. Now, as I left the glittering theater, the Los Angeles skyline sparkling beyond, I felt a surge of purpose. The Harpers were my past. My future was mine to build. The Freshfields campaign launched to glowing reviews, propelling my name into design circles across the country. Brightwave offered me a long-term contract, but I negotiated hard, demanding full creative control and my name on every piece. You drive a tough bargain. Alex, my creative director, said with a grin. I smiled back. I know my worth. Henry reached out, proposing a collaboration with Harper Advertising, but I set firm boundaries. My work stays mine, credited to me alone. He paused, then agreed. A rare nod of respect. It wasn't about joining their world, it was about standing apart. On my terms, my blog, Unseen to Unstoppable, became a beacon for others. I'd started it in Portland, sharing my journey from the Harper's rejection to finding my voice. It went viral, with thousands of comments flooding in, women and men sharing stories of leaving toxic jobs, relationships, or families that made them feel small. Your story gave me courage to quit my dead-end job. One reader wrote, I walked away from a family that never saw me. Another said, I read every message, my heart swelling with purpose. My pain wasn't just mine, it was a spark for others to claim their light. The blog wasn't just a platform, it was a movement, proof that one person's courage could ripple outward. At the gala's closing dinner. Kristen approached my table, her usual sharpness gone. Her eyes were red, her voice barely above a whisper. I was cruel. Lena, she said, tears spilling. I saw you as a threat because I'm terrified of failing, of not being enough. You're stronger than I'll ever be. Her admission was raw. A crack in the armor shed worn for years. I saw her not as the untouchable Harper Queen, but as a woman trapped by her own fears. I didn't soften, but I didn't strike back. Strength isn't about winning. Kristen, I said, my voice steady. It's about finding yourself. Start there. It wasn't forgiveness, it was a challenge. A call for her to break free from the cycle of fear that had fueled her cruelty. She nodded, wiping her eyes, and walked away, her steps heavy but purposeful. Jack and I finalized our divorce a month later in a quiet lawyer's office. He looked worn, his charm dimmed by regret. I laughed that day at the barbecue, he said, his voice thick. I failed you, Lena, and I lost you. I'm sorry. His apology was sincere. A weight he'd carried since I left. I met his gaze, my heart calm. We lost me together. Jack. I said, I found her now. I kept my grandma's engagement ring. The simple band had worn before he replaced it with a Harper diamond, a symbol of my roots. Letting go of his love was like closing a chapter I'd outgrown. I wished him peace, but my heart was already elsewhere free. Whole. Mine. Back in Portland. I bought a small bungalow by the river, painting the walls a bold yellow that glowed in the morning light. It was my sanctuary, filled with art I loved and furniture I chose, a far cry from the Harper's sterile mansion. I joined a community mural project, turning blank city walls into vibrant stories, portraits of resilience, hope, joy. Neighbors stopped to watch. Kids added their own colors, and the murals became a symbol of what we could create together. My friendship with Emily, Tom's wife, deepened, bonded by our shared struggles as Harper outsiders, over coffee. She told me the family had shifted since I left Kristen facing her insecurities. Margaret loosening her iron grip. I listened, but took no credit. Their journey was theirs. Mine was here, in this city that embraced me. One sunny morning at a Portland farmer's market, I ran into Kristen, her pregnancy softening her edges. She held a basket of strawberries, her face quieter than I'd ever seen. I'm taking parenting classes, she said, almost shyly. I want my daughter to know her worth, to never feel like she has to prove it. Her words echoed my own fight, a sign she was trying to change. I nodded, a small smile forming. Teach her to shine. I said, we didn't hug or promise to stay in touch. But we parted with respect, not friends. But two women whose paths had crossed and diverged, each seeking her own light. Months later, I was invited to speak at a national design conference in Seattle. I stood before a packed auditorium, my voice clear, my story raw. I was unseen for years, I said, giving my heart to people who gave nothing back. I left their shadows and built a world where my voice roars. Don't wait for their applause. Build a life where your light burns bright. The crowd rose, their cheers a wave of shared strength. I wasn't just speaking for me, but for everyone who'd ever felt invisible. That moment, under the stage lights, was proof I was enough. Always had been, in my journal. I wrote, I vanished from a world that dimmed me. I reappeared where I could shine. The greatest power isn't being seen, it's seeing yourself and never looking back. My bungalow, my murals, my blog, they were more than a new life. They were a testament to my worth. A world I'd built from the ashes of the Harper's rejection. I'd stopped chasing their eyes and found my own. And they burned brighter than ever. Your worth isn't in the eyes of those who can't see you, it's in your truth, your fire, your unstoppable heart. Lena's story is a battle cry if someone makes you feel small. Leave their shadows behind. Build a world where your light blazes, where your voice roars, where you shine without asking permission. You are enough right now, today, always. Don't wait for their applause. Step into your power and make them hear you. Lena's journey hit me deep. I've been there, pouring my heart into people who gave nothing back, shrinking to fit rooms that weren't mine. Her courage to walk away, to rebuild, to stand tall, it's a wake-up call. She didn't just survive, she soared, proving we can all break free. You're not invisible, you're a force, waiting to ignite. What's one step you'll take to claim your light? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading every story, ready to cheer you on. If Lena's fight lit a fire in you, hit that like button to spread her spark. Subscribe to join this community of dreamers and doers, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. They are enough. And so are you. Let's lift each other up. Tell me, what's your moment of shining? Post it below. And let's make this a space where every voice matters. Thank you for walking with Lena. Now go out there and make your story shine.